I just want to catch you up a little bit. The plagues were fine. We did fine with the plagues. Eventually we packed, well, not everybody, a few of us who decided that Egypt was fine, even with the plagues. But the overwhelming majority of us said, you know what, we got to get out of here. So we packed our bags, little things we could collect from our own homes. And that was not enough, so we went and we plundered the houses of the Egyptians. We stole everything we could. It was great night. We had a fabulous night. We took their gold. We took all that, whatever was there. They were not really able to fight back because, thank God, the angel of death had killed all their firstborn. So they were a little bit, crying, and it was. We had a great time. Anyways, I love those stories. So I don't have time to go into the mystical parts of this, so I'm just giving you the literal level, which you can't believe, don't believe the mystical level. It's got nothing to do with what the text is trying to tell you. Never mind. So we go, and we had to leave. We have to leave. We left on the 15th of the month of Nisan, and it's not a car. It's the name of the month. We wish we had cars. It would have been easier to run away from Pharaoh, but he was the one with the chariots. And we did this strategic blunder because the 15th of every Jewish month is the full moon. And if you're going to leave in hurry a place where people don't like you anymore, you don't want to do that in the one night where it's beautifully lit and people can see you miles away. Nonetheless, somehow those who wrote the stories had no military background, so they didn't know what they were doing. But that's when we left, and just a few of us. According to the census we took a few weeks later, there were just about 3 million. And Moses had a huge megaphone, and he told us where to go and how to, And so 3 million of us outpaced, for some reason, for days on end, the Pharaoh's chariots. Until we come to this place, there's a huge body of water, and we find ourselves stuck. Nobody had their buoys, people didn't know how to swim, and we find ourselves stuck, and the armies of Pharaoh are catching up with us. And what are we going to do? And suddenly, long story short, Moses raises his staff, the sea parts, and here we are, all of 3 million of us, walking through the sea, barefoot and pregnant, and all the way to the other side, while God has this tower of fire. You've seen the movie, come on. You're letting me tell the whole story. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And then we get to the other side, and by an act of giving and compassion, I guess, God let the tower of fire go down so that all the armies of Egypt could follow us, and then God closes the sea on them. It's beautiful. It's just loving and compassionate God that we have there depicted. It's really something else. Obviously, don't delete the literary. It's not what exactly is happening there. But so, what is really happening there is that we were stuck, and we needed our people to be born. So, when you need to be born, you have to go through the birth canal. So, what you need when you go through the birth canal, and in order to be born, you need the waters to break. So the waters broke, and we could walk through the birth canal and be reborn on the other side of that body of water. That's really what's going on here. And when we got to the other side, there was great rejoicing. We were finally free, we were finally alive, and the women were the first ones to kind of get the magnitude of what had happened. And they took their timbrels, they took their instruments, and they're starting this ecstatic dance of celebration, of thanksgiving, of just sheer joy. And Miriam, the prophetess, there's very few prophetess in our stories, but Miriam was one of them. Miriam is Moses' sister, and she was the one to lead us in dancing. I mean, I don't specifically come to Shabbat services for confession, but I gotta come clean. I gotta tell you, I did something bad. I did something bad. I was at this 10-day meditation retreat, to which I go about every year, around that time of the year. It's a Vipassana meditation retreat, and it's taking place just south of Seattle. And I did something bad while I was there. I broke the rules. I know. I did something I should have not have done. And since you want to know what I did, let me tell you what I did. So that it's all in the open, and then I have to wait until the high holidays for forgiveness. To understand what I did, you need to know why I did what I did and what are the rules that I broke. When you step into this space, when you register, and then when you get there, you have to fill out an application, a registration form, and part of that registration form, they ask you if you are willing to vow that you will follow all the rules and precepts that are being set up for these 10 days. And they're pretty simple precepts. I brought the brochure back with me so that I could share them with you. There are about 10 precepts, kind of interesting. The first one, and you have to kind of say you vow to do all of that eventually, but the first one is that to abstain from killing. You're there for 10 days, and for 10 days, do the best you can. And you have to abstain from killing any beings. And big or small, so you see people walking around the grounds and picking up little worms that have come out because of the rain, and you put them aside. I mean, some people take it really, and they should, I'm not saying. So that's one, abstain from killing any being. 2, abstain from stealing. 3, abstain from any and all sexual misconduct. 4, abstain from telling lies. 5, abstain from all and any intoxicants. And those first 5 are for everybody. First time, 5th time, 20th time, everybody does those. Now there are 3 more that are for old students, what they call old students. And you're an old student there if you've come more than once. So really, only the first time you were a new student, after that you're old. So those who are old students, which I was one of them, you have to abstain from eating after noon. So let me explain to you how this works. You are served 2 meals a day. You serve breakfast at 6:30 in the morning after you've meditated a couple hours. 6:30 in the morning is breakfast. And then you go and you meditate some more, and then at 11 o'clock in the morning is lunner. Because it's lunch and dinner all at once. So it's lunner. And it's fun. I mean, you can eat as much as you want, really, and the food is delicious. But that's it. And for old students, that's all you have until next morning, 6:30. The new students can have a couple pieces of fruit and some tea at 5 p.m. And that's it. Okay? The second rule for old students is you have to abstain, and I don't exactly understand what that means, but from sensual entertainment and bodily decoration. So no tattoos, or I don't know. And third one for old students, and you have to abstain from using high or luxurious beds, which you can't anyway because everybody sleeps on cots when you're there, so you're pretty safe with that. And then there's two more that are also for everybody. One is that you are to accept the teacher and the technique that is being provided as it is. Right? The teacher is kind of the guru there, and you have to follow whatever the teacher says. And follow the technique. And the other one is also important, is you have to leave behind any other meditation techniques, any kind of rituals, any kind of other worship things that you do in your daily life. When you're there, you just do what they do, what they teach. Okay? Which is fine. I mean, you don't want to go to a meditation retreat that teaches Vipassana and do Zen, or do Kabbalah, or do whatever. You're there, you might as well do what they offer. So that's kind of all the precepts and rules and code of conduct that you have when you walk in. And I found in the years that I've been that sometimes, depends on who the teacher is, but some of them can be very orthodox in the way they apply that. I mean, I had some experiences with more of an orthodoxy kind of reaction. When I first went there, they still ask you on the registration form if by any chance you practice any other kind of meditation technique, if you if you do any kind of worship, and I wanted to be truthful, and I wrote yes, 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 yes. I do my meditation from the Jewish perspective, from the Jewish mystics perspective, and because of my job, from time to time, I get also to teach that kind of meditation to people, and I didn't think of it anything. I was just filling up the application. And it turns out I got called to the teacher's office. I don't like to be called to the teacher's office. It's one of the things since I'm a kid. I never liked to be called to the teacher's office. And I had to explain over a lengthy conversation what it was I was doing and what it is that I do. And no, don't worry, I'm not going to do any of that when I'm here. I promise I will do the technique as it's taught. Anyway. But it's, the phrase that they're using is pretty valid. It's like they come back and time and again and say, we want you to give this technique. We're going to teach you a fair trial. And you can't give this technique a fair trial if you mix in all kinds of your other stuff that you do outside of here, and you won't know if this technique we're going to teach you will work for you or not. So please give this technique a fair trial. And I'm fine with that. Another time I was almost kicked out of the meditation retreat, actually. Now, because they don't want you to practice any other worship kind of thing or any rituals that you would do, one of the teachers there didn't like that I was wearing a kippah while I was meditating. And so he and I had a serious conversation. I was called to the teacher's office again. And I had to tell him about the kippah and blah, 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 and eventually he was okay with it, so it was okay. Anyway, so clearly there are rules, and they're not to be messed around with. And if you do, you might find yourself packing. And they'll kick you out. They'll kick you out. So, what did I do? I stole an apple. I didn't really steal it. That would be another rule that I would have. At breakfast, the first day at breakfast, I took an apple from the buffet. So I had the right to be there at breakfast. And I had the right to grab an apple. What was breaking the rule is that my intention was to take that apple back into my room and eat it at 9:30 p.m. Which means that I broke another rule, because you're not supposed to bring food into your room. They're afraid that insects will get in, ants, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, I broke two rules. I broke two laws, all right. Now, I have a good explanation for that. I got a very good excuse. I, as you know, have been on heart medication since my heart attack in October. And I have a bunch of pills I have to take with food in the morning, and a bunch of pills I have to take at night, in the evening, with food as well. So I thought, well, since I'm not going to be eating between 11 o'clock in the morning and 6:30 the next day, I need to have something so I can take my medicine with. So I stole an apple. Now you would think that I had come to the management of the place and say, this is what I'm going to be doing, this is the reason why. And actually they ask you on the forms, they say, is there any medical condition that you have that we need to be aware of? Are there any prescription drugs that you take that we need to be aware of? But I didn't want to be called to the office again. I did that the first time they called me because of the kippah, and they called me because of, every time I declared whatever, I had to endure the being called to the office. And I figured, you know what? My medical information is confidential. I don't need to tell everybody what I'm doing. And I'm doing fine, so there's no risk. So I didn't tell anybody. So I stole an apple. So, not only did I take an apple the first morning, but I continued to do that every morning of every day through the 10 days. The problem is that I was kind of silly the first day because I didn't go back to my room and hide the apple. I just left it there in plain sight. I don't know what I was thinking, probably not. But I just left the apple there in plain sight. What you have to know is that the doors of the rooms where you stay, they don't lock. So anybody and everybody can walk through your door and check out your room if they want to. So after breakfast, I go back to my room and I left the apple right there in the middle of the room. And I go back to meditation. We had a 3-hour session meditation that morning, like every morning. And so you sit in meditation from 8 to 11 before you go to lunch. And the first 2 hours of meditation, you sit with the whole staff of the place there. The teacher, the course manager is there, and other people that work in the kitchen. Everybody sits together. But the last hour, the 3rd hour, the whole staff goes away, and the students stay in the meditation hall to meditate the last hour by themselves. And here went my mind. My mind went, oh my God, the apple. The apple in my room, the door is open. The course manager is not here. Where is the course manager now? The course manager stays 2 doors down from my room. He's probably just walking around in front of my room right now. Oh my God, he's going to walk into my room. He's going to find the apple. I'm dead. I'm done. Oh my God. And for an hour and some, my mind went through hell. Scenario after scenario of what was going to happen, who was going to come and fetch me. They were going to pluck me from the cushion and drag me to the teacher's office. I'm going to have a conversation for hours on end explaining why the apple, what happened to the apple, and why it got rolled down there by itself, and what I was going to say, and what the teacher was going to answer, and what was going to answer to the teachers, and then, no, that scenario wasn't going to work. So in fact, what was going to be happening is that he's going to ask me about this, and then I'm going to be kicked out, and my name is going to be erased, and then never going to be able to come back again, and it's oh my God! And then the gong rings, and I have to go to the lunch. And I have my hood on, and I don't want to look at anybody. I'm going to the lunchroom, and I'm, oh my God, I can't, no. And I'm taking my food from the thing like this. And I go to the corner, I'm facing the wall. And I'm hiding, it's like, I'm hoping nobody sees me. I don't want to talk to anybody. You can't talk to anybody, it's silent meditation anyway. And then the course manager walks into the dining hall. The course manager never walks into the dining hall because the course manager eats with all the staff in a different room. What is he doing there? My mind's just racing. And then he's looking around, he's looking for something. He's looking for something, he's looking for someone. He's looking for someone. What is he doing? And then he's looking right at me, no! And he's not going to see seen me. He's never saw me with that hood. And then, oh my God, he started to walk towards me. He's walking towards me. He's walking towards me. He's going to talk to me. This is the end. This is the Adam and Eve story all over again. I took the apple, and now they're going to kick me out of the garden. And he walked right past me, and he started talking to the guy sitting right on my right side. And I'm like, yes! And in my head, I do a little dance of joy. I'm still here. I'm finishing my plate as fast as I can, and I run to my room, and I put the apple, and I put it right under my pillow, and it's like, oh my God. And then I got why we have the rules. It's not to annoy us. We have the rules so that when I'm sitting in meditation, when I'm sitting there in meditation for hours on end, my mind doesn't go into the places it went because I broke the rules and ruined half of my morning. Building scenarios and being in la la land of thoughts and imagination and fear and emotions coming up. And look at what is this I'm doing? That's why they have the rules. That's why they have all these precepts, so that they can create sacred space. And you know exactly what's right, you know exactly what's wrong, you know what to do, you know what time to be aware. And you can be at peace, and you can really focus on what you need to be focusing on, which is getting enlightened. Waking up, meditating, clearing your mind, not shoving stuff in it. That's why you have the rules. And then I thought, as I was preparing for tonight, I thought, well, how much of a coincidence is this, that this week's Torah portion is the Ten Commandments? And it got me to think about the Ten Commandments from a very different place now. They're not just rules to bind us, to put obstacles in front of us, to tell us what to do when we don't want to do what they tell us what to do. It's not there to work against us. If we take the Torah seriously as a template for spiritual awakening, then the rules are there to be in service of that process, of that path. They're not there to be obstacle to that path. They're there to serve that purpose. So, you know the Ten Commandments, and it was fascinating. I was looking at the Ten Commandments, it's like, oh, but this is exactly the 10 precepts. I mean, start with you shall not kill, right? You shall not murder. You shall not kill. Same as in the Vipassana thing. You shall not commit adultery. No sexual misconduct. That's what the brochure was saying. Okay. You shall not steal. Text to text. You shall not bear false witness. Well, here it says you shall not lie. Pretty close. We have jealousy. You shall not be jealous of your neighbor, envy your neighbor. They don't have that here. What they have is you should not have intoxicants. We like intoxicants. I mean, Purim is coming up. We're not going to give up on that. Plus, we believe that the herbal remedies that I talked about earlier are a very good way to achieve altered states of consciousness that actually can serve you on your spiritual way. We have, which they don't have here, I couldn't find an equivalent, but honor your father and mother. The Hebrew is actually kaved. Kaved is an interesting word. It means honor. You can say honor. But kaved also means heavy, weighty. Weighty are your father and mother. Like, be present to the weight that the presence of your parents play in your life. And be aware of the weight of the lineage of which you are the latest expression. Be aware of all that is what has been passed on in your DNA, of which you are the latest expression. I mean, I think we can read that commandment like this. Then there is keep the Sabbath. keep Shabbat. Carve for yourself a day for meditation. Carve for yourself a day for your spiritual being. Carve for yourself a day where you stop doing and you embrace being. And then there's the first three, which are really the key to all the rest of them. The third one, which is the most complicated to understand, but I'm going to quickly say because it would be a talk for another time. It literally says, well, not literally, but mystically says, you cannot use your I am when you say I am. You cannot use that I am without consequences. Anytime you say I am, you are participating in the creation and the manifestation of whatever is unfolding in your life. The other one actually is completely parallel to the code of discipline. It says, "You shall have no other gods besides me." It's like, if you choose this path. Don't come and mix it with other things. Give this a fair trial. Like they say in the Vipassana thing. Give this technique a fair trial. Give this a fair trial. And immerse yourself in the depth of this. Because if you're going to go to a smorgasbord of different spiritual practices, all you're going to have is an indigestion. So choose one. Have no other practices besides this. Go to the depth of it. Go to the depth of it. And then the first commandment, the first utterance is I am. I am. It says, I am the eternal one, your God, who liberated you from Egypt. That's the first commandment. I am. I am. The first utterance is I am. And what I am, God says, is a liberating energy. I'm there to free you. Which is within you, that energy within you that is yearning for you to break free from your Egypt, your enslavement, your narrow, confined places, your narrowness of consciousness. That yearning, that energy within that is wanting for you to break free from that, that's God. God is that energy. God is that impulse. God is that voice within your head that keeps saying, there is more to this than what you think. There's more to this than what you see. Come and taste it. And all the other commandments derive actually from that one. If we get the first one, then the rest flows. So if the divine is defining itself as a force of liberation, then all that follows is really a structure for a practice aiming at liberation. There is a beautiful phrase, I didn't coin it, but I saw it in other contexts, is a liberating structure. Now, we create structures in our life, and some of the structures we create are very constraining. They actually are structures that put obstacles in front of us. That are the structures that become our Egypt, our narrow place. But there are structures we can put in place that are liberating structures. Structures whose only purpose is to free us from those places of stuckness. And the 10 Commandments, those 10 precepts, are there for that. So I was thinking, so what? Now, what do we do with them? I'd like to invite you to look at each of them and see how we can unpack those 10 in our life. Like, what do they mean for us? Like, you shall not, which one do you want to take? Steal. You shall not steal. Any one of them. Okay, so let's take that as a header. Now let's write what it means for me. Because stealing can take all kinds of different dimensions. Right? So what does it mean for me? And as you do that for each one of them, you're going to start doing what the rabbis have done. Because that's what they've done. They took the 10 and then they exploded the 10 into 613. But they say the 613 are an exploration of the 10. And so it's a fabulous exercise to do. Take Shabbat, for example. I always want to invite everybody to do Shabbat. And it doesn't have to be Saturday. Mine is Wednesday. Right? What does that mean for you, Shabbat? Like, write it out. If you were to do Shabbat, what would that look like for you? Not according to the Orthodox rabbis. What would that look like for you? What would you be doing differently one day a week that you would say, this is my Shabbat? Maybe that's the day you take an hour to meditate. Maybe that's the day you take a few hours to go for a walk. It's your hiking day. It's your, I'm going to call all my loved one day. I'm going to disconnect my phone, my computer, my TV, just for that one day. Whatever it is, but do it for you. Create a liberating structure in your life. Because if you don't create that structure, it's not going to work. You're going to keep doing the same things over and over again. It's not going to move you into any direction. You're not going to be able to grow and expand in any kind of way. So this is my invitation. Explore what is jealousy. Why are we jealous of others? What is that about? What does it mean, you shall not kill? Maybe you start using less paper. You know what I mean? Explore, wrestle with this, and find your liberating structure.